Good morning. How is everybody in this era of the lockdown? Beautiful sunny day, spring day, stuck indoors. You're only allowed out one person here at a time. You cannot go to the parks. You're not allowed near the river. Anywhere. The police will be there to stop you. But that makes me laugh if they've got to be 2 meters apart because the police are walking side by side. Counter destroys the argument, really, doesn't it? But am I saying this is not real? No. This thing is real. What's not real is the information. Now, I'm going to take us on a journey because I'm going to show you something now. And this is down to this wonderful guy, Lawe68, 86, whatever his name is. I'll put his video below and his link below to his site, and his South African friend, who are phenomenal. Phenomenal is not the word. They are fantastic. But what's more important is to understand the mechanisms of this and realize we are being lied to. We've been lied about the disease. We've been lied to about the numbers. We've been lied about everything. Why? Because our scientists don't know. They're working on models that are way out of whack. Because the main problem is the World Health Organization. I'm going to show that. The fact that the World Health Organization is run by a communist lunatic who should be charged with negligent manslaughter. And I think that's what we have to now do, is charge the guy in charge of the World Health Organization with negligent manslaughter. Because rather than be and do the job properly, he covered for the backsides of the Chinese. And I'm going to show a lot of things here. I'm going to go through a lot of information. So bear with me. But let's start at the following. Human cases of SARS, clinical features. So we'll go to the incubation period. So the incubation period may vary from 1 to 14 days, means 4 to 6 days. A prospective study of one outbreak found that the clinical progression of SARS was mostly uniform and followed a triphasic pattern. Fever, malaria, coughing and sore throat characterized the first week, followed in the second week by frequent recurrence of fever, diarrhea, hypoxemia, and half the patients had abnormal chest radiographs. Virus shedding from the respiratory tract peaked on the 10th day after onset and was excreted in the feces from 12 to 14 days. Over onset, immunoglobulin G seroconversion occurred 10 to 15 days after onset and correlated with a decreased viral load. Some patients showed clinical worsening at this stage and developed acute respiratory distress syndrome by week 3, although this can develop within the first week. The most severe cases died between 4 and 108 days. After the onset of the symptoms, research suggests that the immunopathologic damage from an over-exuberant host immune response rather than uncontrolled viral replication was the major cause of lung damage at this stage. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? It sounds like what we're dealing with today. But this was written July the 27th, 2010. Now, let's go to my favourite friend, who we've not heard from, not seen. There's no documentation, no photographs of her since all this started. And that is the mother of the devil herself, Xi Zhengli, the creator. Not Huang Yangling, who is patient zero, the first victim. No, the creator, Xi Zhengli, and her obvious need to know about bats. And she's been obsessed with this, which is why this is dangerous. Xi Zhengli's team tested serum on 218 villagers in Yunnan, suggesting SARS-like coronavirus has a high potential to directly infect people without the need for an intermediate host. The paper also predicts that SARS-related coronaviruses bats spill into humans and may cause SARS-like diseases, and is recommended to strengthen surveillance in relevant areas. Is there direct evidence of bat coronavirus transmission? 218 serum samples from Yunnan villagers, 6 were positive. Does that show a contagion? Because if that was the case, wouldn't 218 people have gone down and all the other people around the surrounding areas gone down? An interesting article. This is again from those wonderful guys from South Africa and the American guy lived in China. They're just fantastic. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. But let's go to the World Health Organization, shall we? The China response. Upon the detection of a cluster of pneumonia cases of unknown etiology in Wuhan, the CPC Central Command and State Council launched the National Emergency Response and Central Leadership Group of Epidemic Response and a Joint Prevention Control Mechanism of the State Council were established. General Secretary Xi Jinping personally directed and deployed the prevention and control work and requested that the prevention of the control of the COVID-19 outbreak be the top priority of government at all levels. Wow! Did that happen? No, that's not what happened, and we know that. But that's what our friends at the World Health Organization report of the WHO-China Joint Mission. Yeah? The same people that said it couldn't be transmitted, and this was written between the 16th to 24th of January. So they're still carrying water, and now the facts are coming out, the lies are now coming out. This is why I say the head of the WHO, Tedros, whatever his name is, Eustace, should be charged with corporate manslaughter. That is what he should be charged for and held for it on human rights and never, ever, ever be put in a position of power again and should spend the rest of his days in a prison without light, in solitary, for the rest of his days. That's an adequate punishment for this man. Is COVID-19 the same as SARS? World Health Organization. No, the virus that causes COVID-19 and the one that caused the outbreak of severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, in 2003, are related to each other genetically, but the diseases they cause are quite different. SARS was more deadly, but less infectious than COVID-19. They have no outbreaks of SARS anywhere in the world since 2003. That's a lie. There was outbreaks from SARS from the leaks from laboratories in China. We've got that because the World Health Organization punished them in 2004. Oh, man. This is unreal with the more you dig. But here's something. Going to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and the date of this was published on the 18th of November 2019. Again, big shout out to the guys because they put their information. Was looking for a new researcher. This goes to Huang Langling, but it gets better. According to the report, the Beijing News are Xi Zhengli, a researcher at the Wuhan Virus Research Institute, and Chen Qinjiao, a researcher at the Influenza Virus Laboratory, on the matter. Both said they are not sure whether the institute has a female graduate student named Huang Yangling, but they can guarantee that no one in the institute is currently infected with Wuhan pneumonia. According to Xi Zhengli, how is it possible? This is fake news at a glance. I can guarantee you that none of us, including graduate students, have been infected by the virus, and we have 0 infections. And Chen Guangji also said, we Wuhan Institute of Viruses have no cases of infections. Our virus is definitely not 0. How do they know? They were so adamant about this. I'll link this below. This came from these guys again. According to Apple directly report, Wuhan P4 laboratory in China and the world's top virus research institute, it was designed and constructed with the help of France, marking that China has the hardware conditions to study and utilize virulent pathogens. Currently on only 9 countries in the world. 9. Now this is the bit makes my blood boil. Including the United States, Britain and France have P4 virus laboratories. You could also add Canada. Why do we need all these P4 labs? Surely one would be enough, run by one organisation, an international organisation. I think that's what needs to happen from this. According to reports after the outbreak in Wuhan, Major General Chen Wei, an expert in the Chinese military's biochemical weapons and director of the Institute of Bioengineering out of the Military Medical College, has taken over the Wuhan P4 virus laboratory, revealing that the laboratory may be related to the military. Why not Xi Zhengli, the expert? No, Major General Chen Wei. Another piece from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, dated 24th of December 2019. Job postdoctoral 1 to 2 name proposed recruitment direction, ecological study of bat migration and virus transmission. So they're honed in on bats, bat viruses, cross species. But why? Why? The new virus disciplinary group focuses on the etiology of new viruses and their infection mechanism. They're looking at a new virus on the 24th of December. This is Dr. A. Fenn. So some people might have heard this name, but she was the one who detected the first cases of SARS coronavirus. But hang on, no, it's novel COVID. It's not SARS, according to the World Health Organization. And the fact they keep telling you it's coronavirus. They don't say SARS coronavirus. And I'm going to show you something. So I'll link this one below. Doctor disappears after raising alarms about coronavirus in Wuhan. Doctor, who is the first to say about the spread of coronavirus, was disappeared, sparking fears that she's been detained for speaking out. Dr. A. Fenn, head of the emergency department of Wuhan Central Hospital. Another link I will link below. But notice they said coronavirus. Chinese evades social media censors to repost doctor's banned virus essay. So the Zhao essay, which tells us where it comes from as the lab, was tried to have got rid of by China. Dr. A. Fenn interview published 10th of March 2020. This is the article, and I've got various copies of it which we're going to do, but I'm going to read you. At noon on the day of December 30th, my classmate at Dongji Hospital sent me a screenshot of a WeChat conversation which said, "Don't go to South China recently, there are many people with high fever." He asked me if it was true. Yes, at that time I was watching a CT of a typical patient with pulmonary infection on the computer. I sent him 11-second video of the CT and told him that this was a patient who came to our emergency department in the morning and was in the South China seafood market. Just after 4 p.m. that day, my colleague showed me a report that said, SARS, coronavirus, Pseudomonas aeruginosa 46, kinds of oral stroke respiratory colonization bacteria. I have read the report many times, and the following note reads, SARS coronavirus is a single-stranded positive strand RNA virus. The main mode of transmission of the virus is close-range droplet transmission or contact with the respiratory secretions of patients, which can cause a special pneumonia that is obviously contagious and can affect multiple organ systems, also known as atypical pneumonia. At that time I was scared and in a cold sweat, which was a terrible thing. The patient was admitted to the respiratory department. It should usually be reported by the respiratory department, but for the sake of insurance and attention, I immediately called and reported it to the hospital's public health department. At the hospital sensory department at that time, the director of the respiratory department of our hospital happened to pass me by the door. He was a person who had participated in SARS. I called him and said, "We have a patient who was received in your department and found this report." He said at a glance it was troublesome. I knew it was troublesome. After calling the hospital, I was circulated a report to my classmates. I purposely drew a circle on the line of SARS coronavirus, Pseudomonas aeruginosa 46 types of oral respiratory colonization bacteria. It is to remind time to pay attention. I also sent the report to the doctors in the department to remind everyone to take precautions. The word spread that night, and the screenshots passed around with photos of the report with the red circles shown, including the ones that I later learned that Li Wenliang passed on to the group. At that time, I was thinking that it might be bad. They didn't find out about this till, the 31st of December. Okay? That is a week later, after the 24th of January. It's a timeline. We're seeing it. Here we have the Reddit version of it with the Chinese. So those who can read Chinese can see if it's correctly translated. Dr. A. Fen, Wuhan whistleblower, told us about coronavirus. So we should literally be looking at this. Now we're going to go to the World Health Organization. SARS, coronavirus, was identified in 2003, is thought to be an animal virus from as yet uncertain animal reservoir, perhaps bats, that spread to other animals. Civet cats first infected humans in the Guangdong province of southern China in 2002. An epidemic of SARS affected 26 countries and resulted in more than 8,000 cases. 2 years ago, they've did it with bats. So why hasn't this been updated on the World Health Organization's page? Again, I'm calling this out because we need to look at this. The Lancet. Interesting read. Beta coronavirus. Talks of the 41 patients. This article I highly recommend people to read. Clinical features of patients infected with the 2019 novel coronavirus in Wuhan, China. Again, they're calling it novel coronavirus because they're not getting the information from China. Another article for you to read. SARS coronavirus 2 and the coronavirus disease of 2019. What we know so far. So here, pathogens, we have SARS coronavirus 2. Novel coronavirus 2019. Infection with human coronavirus NL63 enhances streptococcal adherence to epithelial cells. This is understand the mechanism. Why are these people doing this? It's beyond a joke. Severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus as an agent of an emerging and re-emerging infection. I want people to understand when I'm putting all this here, you can read for yourself, so I'll link that below. But here's my final thoughts on this matter today, and I want this to be made quite clear. What we need to do is now to stop buying anything from China. Nothing. No goods, no nothing. We, the people, can do that. If it says made in China, no. If something else is there, it's a bit more expensive, buy the bit more expensive. You carry on supplying this regime, you're allowing it to continue the way it is. That's first. Second of all, what we need to also do is bring this idiot from the World Health Organization, this Dr. Tedros, who is a doctor in communism, not a doctor in virology, and he needs to be put on trial for corporate manslaughter, because it is him that is responsible for this ultimately at the end of the day. China will be China. China needs to be dealt with. But it's also the World Health Organization. Now that needs to be scrapped because it's now been politicized. Look what he did to the Ethiopian Ministry of Health. And see that he's doing the same thing again now with the World Health Organization. So the World Health Organization needs to be scrapped, and we need to get back to reality, people. What we need to do now is demand that this guy gets prosecuted. That's first. Number two, we stop buying anything Chinese. Remember, Chinese lied and people died. We will not call it the coronavirus anymore. We should call it the CCP virus, because it's the Chinese Communist Party's virus, because their scientists allowed this to carry on. And in the bungling that went on allowed this contagion to go worldwide, with the help of the World Health Organization trying to cover up for this catastrophe. This is Chernobyl on steroids. I hope you have a nice day and enjoy your day looking at four walls while the beautiful sunshine is outside and driving people up the wall. TTFN. Ta-ta for now.